Hey everybody, it's Besta and Steve coming to you from Lisbon. This is week 2, and in this week we started to sort of get our life together, get things put away. You can see I'm set at my desk, so we're facing a different direction, but there's no art up yet behind me. We started to engage with our neighborhood, meet some shop owners and do some shopping, which of course brought up language skills.
Yeah, we also took some time to do some more things away from home, and we made a trip to the Alfama Flea Market over the past weekend and also took a day trip out to Sintra, which we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Right, so this is week 2 of us moving to Lisbon. So we're starting to get settled in. Things are starting to go find their place here in our apartment. And we started to engage with the neighborhood, go out and do some shopping at some specific shops.
Yeah, it is starting to feel very real that this is home, and we're getting used to the fact that there are shops and restaurants right around the corner and even on our street where we live. So we're seeing these people almost every day.
Right, and so there were specific things that we were working on this week. For example, I went to a frame shop because I needed to get some things framed and work on some things that were going to be framed. And a wonderful experience interacting with a woman named Raquel, but the language was an issue. She knew a little bit of English and some phrases. I knew a little bit of Portuguese. So that's one of the challenges that we've faced.
Yeah, we're running into that a lot, where there's a lot of bilingual people here who know some of English and a whole lot of Portuguese, and of course we're on the other side. And I've been really struck by how friendly everybody is and working with us to try to get past those barriers as we continue to learn Portuguese.
Right, and there are some shop owners that absolutely do not speak any English, and we learned that on our very first trip here. So at the very beginning of our process, we were like, we want to move to Portugal. One of the first things we did right away was, okay, we need to learn Portuguese. We need to be good citizens. We need to be able to talk to our neighbors and these shop owners. So we worked on some apps, Duolingo,
right.
Even though that's Brazilian Portuguese. I also use Practice Portuguese, which I liked. We'll talk more about the language part of how we've learned it. We even have a tutor now that's really helping us. But when I'm in a shop and I'm stuck and we're trying to figure it out, I often use DeepL on my phone, which is something you told me about.
Yeah, it's really helpful. And not only can you speak into it and it translates, you can type into it. You can also take photos of signs that are in another language and it translates it for you. So we both use that a lot as we're interacting with the locals here in our neighborhood. Right.
So if you're coming to Lisbon or Portugal in any way, that's something to have at your disposal. For example, the other day I went to the key shop and needed some help with something, and he only speaks Portuguese. Super nice gentleman. So I eventually pulled up my DeepL and said, I am looking for this, I need this help. And then I just showed it to him, and he read it. And it may not be a perfect translation, but it's enough for them to understand. Then he's like, oh, and then he was able to help me. By the way, I loved that he was so friendly. This is sort of the tone of the neighbors and the shop owners, is now every time I see him, I wave, say bom dia, he says hello, sort of like we're best friends now. And I love that. I feel like I'm becoming a part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, again, we're seeing a lot of familiar faces every day, a lot of waves. There's a woman who lives across the street from us. Every time we walk to the gym, she knocks on the window and waves, which is great.
She's very excited to say hello.
Yeah.
So I think they really appreciate our trying to learn. And we always say, we're trying to learn, we're working on our Portuguese. We have a tutor. We have memorized how to say our phone number and our NIF number in Portuguese so that we can do that faster for them.
And our NIF number is our tax ID number. That's kind of like a social security number for us.
Right, and they ask that all the time because they track your spending and it goes toward that. And I don't know exactly how it works, but it's great. Now, I did go to the post office this week and had a huge epic fail. So here's a conversation about that. So the post office here is called CTT. It's like a business that does the postal system in Portugal. And I just did not understand how it worked. Like, I guess for some reason my brain would not compute. Like, every post office you go in, there's a line of people and you wait to be the next one called up. And I saw that there was a board that had numbers and they were calling numbers. And I was just like, I don't see where to get a number. There was nobody in line. It was very confusing. There were some older people like sitting back talking in the back of the, anyway, as it turned out, there was a place to get numbers and there were people waiting. Those older people were actually waiting for their turn to be called, but they were very kind to me as I flustered my way through it, trying to buy some postcard stamps and work my way through it. And I kept saying to her, okay, now tell me again, where is this machine where you get the numbers and where am I supposed to wait? And they were just very kind. And then we went back another time and you were stellar. You did great.
I wasn't stellar, but we went by because we had some questions about packages. Like Amazon here, as our good friend Bruce back in the States always says, Amazon is your friend. And we have ordered some things from them, but they don't leave them at your place of residence. They will leave them on your front stoop. They won't put them in a box or anything like that. So you have to be here. So we didn't have the right information on our Amazon account, apparently. So we didn't know that they tried to drop it off. So we had to find out. So we knew that they were a delivery service. So we went down to the CTT, and I was very happy that I was able to speak enough Portuguese to let the young woman at the desk know what we were trying to do. Eventually, she did call somebody over to help who does speak English. But we found out that we can actually have the packages delivered there, right around the corner, instead of here.
Which we will do in the future for sure, because you have to be home and you don't know when they're coming. It's a different system. But anyway, I thought you did great. And there again, both times they were very kind, very patient, willing to help. Yeah. And that's sort of been the overall feeling here.
Yeah, again, I think if you show an effort that you're trying to speak the language and you're trying to understand the way they do things, they are very welcoming and very kind about all of it.
When we were starting to look for where to live, we partnered with a wonderful company called Portugal the Place, who have been just wonderful through this process. They were the ones that sort of answered a lot of questions. When we first came to visit, they toured us around. One of the representatives, the wonderful Alexandra, toured us around, showed us the neighborhoods, helped us figure out where we wanted to live. And Alexandra said to us, oh, you must go to Sintra. You're going to want to go there a lot. I think she's right.
She is right. We've made 2 trips, one trip since we've been back and one trip over the holidays while we were here setting up the apartment. And one thing that we loved about the neighborhood we landed is that there's a metro station right around the corner, which is the subway. And it connects to bus routes, it connects to attractions, and it also connects to a lot of the train and railways that go all over the country. And so whenever we hop on the metro, we can go down to Rossio Station, which is where all the trains are, and then we hopped on a train and took that out to Sintra. And all of that is done with one metro card, which makes it really easy that you can reload on the machines right there in the metro station. And we traveled out there for there and back. I think it was like $5 or $10 each, euros each, sorry. And each trip on the metro is a little over, just under €2. So it's a really great way to save money and to get around. And there's also Uber and Bolt, which is kind of like the Portuguese version of Lyft. It's a little less expensive, and I think more locally owned.
So we'll do more about transportation and getting around later. But we did get to go to Sintra because you wanted to go to a specific place that had a very mysterious component to it.
Yeah, and anybody who knows me knows I like the spooky and the historic, and this place is beautiful. Quinta da Regaleira, which we're still learning our Portuguese, but it's a beautiful palace up in the mountains with a bunch of tunnels, and there's an initiation well that we explored, and we spent 4 hours there just looking around and exploring. It was fantastic.
So there are videos about that on our Beast and Steve YouTube channel. There's a link wherever you're watching this to those. There's 2 videos, one of our visit all around the palace and the grounds, which were spectacular, and then another of Steve's journey down into the initiation well. So don't miss that video on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and it's a reminder of one of the many reasons why we wanted to move here, and it's only 45-minute train ride away.
Yeah, so it's like you have this wonderful attraction really close by with all kinds of things to see and explore.
Yeah.
And speaking of seeing and exploring, the Alfama Flea Market is famous. It's every Saturday and Tuesday here in Lisbon. And this is something that locals and tourists go to.
It's called the Feira de Ladra, which translates to flea market, we learned, but it's also called the Market of Thieves, which has a history that goes way back, which is very cool. But it's a traditional flea market where there's booths and vendors and antiques and strange toys and art, and we just explored.
Yeah, well, here's a video about our experience at the flea market. Hey, twice a week on Saturday and Tuesday, there is this huge flea market here in the Alfama area of Lisbon.
Yes, it's all on this amazing hill, and it is called the Feira de Ladra, which is the flea market, but it's actually a tradition that dates back to 1272 here. And it was originally 1272. It's been around a minute, but not in this location. It's bounced around a lot, but it's been here for a long time. And it was traditionally called the Thieves Market. And it's just like back in the U.S. There's a lot of booths. There's a lot of old antique things, as well as really cool finds. And we've Just touch the surface.
And the cool Pantheon behind us,
Yeah.
which I've never seen this close before, so excited to find that.
Yeah.
So what was your impression? I thought, okay, it's just like every other flea market, but then it's not. Like everything else here, it sort of has its own tone and flair and feel.
It does. I mean, you can feel like you're in a traditional flea market in the United States, and then you see something that is so authentically Portuguese and ancient Portuguese that you're like, oh, okay, I'm not in the States. So there's a familiarity to it as well as an obvious tradition here in Portugal.
Which is kind of true of a lot of things we're encountering as we live here, is that this feels very familiar, but then there's this Portuguese flair to it that really sets it apart. So I'm really glad we came to do this. We're hoping to find some things, if nothing else, are just interesting to look through.
Yes, and there's a couple places where you can stop and get your coffee, and you get a pastry, and it costs €1 to use the bathroom.
Yeah, so keep your coins.
This morning we did some grocery shopping. There's 4 different places you can do that in our neighborhood. Very, very convenient. And we have to do some learning about that too.
Yeah, Europeans shop differently than Americans do. And, we're so used to going and stocking up for the week and grabbing everything you need, but we don't have a car. And then you have to carry it home. And the refrigerator isn't as big as what we're used to back in the States. So we came back today with 2 very full bags of stuff, and stuff stuck under our arms just didn't make sense. So we have got to learn to shop in portions.
Right, which is basically you shop for 2 or 3 days at the time. It was what we normally do, but there's one specific store that we found that we like their meat a lot, their meat cuts. And so we went there and sort of stocked. Anyway, we bought too much stuff. But typically we have been going every 2 or 3 days and buying the next bit because the food doesn't have as many preservatives, so it doesn't last as long, which is just fine with me. It tastes better.
Well, and it's funny, as we're checking out and we're filling up these 2 bags, always bring your own bags with you, by the way, or else you have to buy them. So
Yes.
we learned that early on too. As these huge bags we brought are filling up, we look at each other and both realize that, oh, dang, we may have got too much stuff. So don't let that happen to you.
We didn't shop well today, but we got through it. We got home. We're fine. But anyway, there'll be more about shopping in the markets in our neighborhood on another video later on. And I wanted to say that I feel like now in the second week, I'm starting to feel what I was really hoping for, which is to slow down, feel more relaxed. We're both, I think, sleeping a lot better. Our lives are slowing down. This is one of the main reasons we wanted to come to Portugal is life is slower. It's not so stressful. You don't always feel like every minute the next disaster is about to happen.
And it's not so regimented.
Absolutely not. And our lives have calmed down a lot because of the way that we're working now and the way our lives are set up. But I'm really enjoying the fact that everything's a slower pace. We're not in a big hurry.
Right.
I can feel myself relaxing. I love when you're walking around the neighborhood and you see 2 people that have just stopped and having a conversation. Or this morning in the market where we were buying groceries, there's a whole corner of people just sitting around having their morning bika, a little coffee, and having a pastry and talking. And it's very relaxed and friendly and neighborhood-ish.
Yeah, everything is very conversational, and which goes back to our language skills. We will get there where we can be conversational as well. But yeah, it's a very cool sense of community that we're slowly becoming a part of.
So thanks for watching this. This is our week 2 experience. We're starting to feel good about getting out in the neighborhood. And next week we have a couple of exciting deliveries coming, so watch for that. And make sure you go to YouTube and watch those 2 videos about our trip to Sintra. Thanks so much for watching.